Council ready? Staff ready? All right. I'm going to call to order this Kerrville City Council meeting for May 13th, 2025. I'm going to be the one saying the prayer and pledge of allegiance tonight, so all rise for the prayer and the pledge, please. Let us pray. Lord, thank you for this beautiful place we get to live. Thank you for a community that you let us live in and be a part of. Thank you for the rain you sent recently, and please send more. I want to ask a special blessing of peace and comfort on the Cortez family tomorrow as they bury 3 family members. When I visited with them this week, I know they're strong in their faith, but they have a hard day tomorrow, and I hope you'll let your presence be felt in their hearts tomorrow. As always, please watch over our first responders. Thank you this week that we will have the Peace Officer Memorial Ceremony in honor of those who served and died for their communities. Lord, thank you for this council. It's truly been a blessing, not only to me, but to our community. Give us strength and wisdom, peace and honor. For it's in your holy name I pray. Amen. Now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is a vastly different experience from being in a small council chamber. I know there are people out there somewhere. Stuart, are you ready for announcements of community interests?
Yes, sir, I am. And we want to say thank you first to everybody who came out tonight for the earlier ceremony. Glad to have you here at the Arcadia. It is beautiful.
It is.
And Councilman Harris earlier mentioned Concerts by the River. Unfortunately, you guys are going to have to turn around tonight.
There it is.
Yes. The third in the series of the Concerts by the River is actually this Friday. So it was good timing on that. It'll be May 16th, Friday night. Starts at 7 o'clock at Louise Hayes Park. And the acts are Kyle Grohl and the Maplewood Brothers. And I don't know about either one of them, but I will after Friday night. So looking forward to that. There will be food out there, so we encourage everybody to come on out. It's free, and hopefully the weather will be a little cooler by then. Next slide, please. 2 more upcoming events. Community Day at Kerrville Shriner Park. That was going to be June 7th. Free admission to that. I think there's going to be some free kayaking that day, and we'll talk more about that at our next City Council meeting. Have more details on that. Also, if you want to play summer soccer, the Adult Soccer League is still taking registration through May 23rd, and that starts June 15th. So get your name in. Expect to see all of y'all out in the field. And next slide, please. Finally, we have just completed a water survey, and we are going to be meeting right here next Tuesday night, 6:30, to talk about the results of that. Got a lot of participation in that, so we've got some people coming in to do a presentation, and we're really looking forward to hear what they say. So you put that on your calendar as well, and that will do it for me.
Thank you. Council members, do you have any announcements? Go ahead.
I'll probably be saying this every council meeting. October 25th is our first downtown Water Street Festival from 10 to 4. It's a Saturday. We have sponsor opportunities. We have vendor opportunities. You can go to waterstreetfestival@gmail.com and ask any questions you might have about it, but it's going to be a real exciting day. So we look forward to having something happen exciting downtown.
I would just like to ask everybody that's in town and available if y'all would like to come out and celebrate those that have gone on before us for Memorial Day. Monday the 26th at the Kerr County Courthouse, right over across the street. 10 o'clock we will start the Memorial Day program. And we actually have 2 new names that have been added to the wall. Thanks to Mr. Louis Amstoy for finding our 2 Ingram High School students that paid the ultimate sacrifice. So please join us on May the 26th.
Thank you. Kent? All right, we have several presentations, and what I will do is I will go down to the microphone at the front and then call each group separately. The thing is, we're having a heck of a time hearing anything coming out of that microphone up here, so I might say stuff about you guys while I'm down there, might not.
Right?
All right, we're going to start with a proclamation for Emergency Medical Services Week. Any of the guys who would like to come down and join me, I'd appreciate it. We put them at the first of the agenda because, you know, they have a job to go do and save people, and rather than sit through our board meeting. So come on down, please. What I'm going to do, if it's okay, is I'm going to read the proclamation, and then I'm going to ask each of you to say a word. How long you've been with the force, the department, and any other comments you'd like to make. That sound fair? All right, here we go. This is a proclamation of the City of Kerrville. Whereas emergency medical service is a vital public service, and whereas the members of the emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas emergency medical services has grown to fill a gap by providing important pre-hospital care, and our emergency medical services system consists of the Kerrville Fire Department's emergency medical technicians and paramedics, Kerrville Police Department's emergency medical dispatchers, and Kerr County first responders. And whereas the members of the emergency medical services team engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize and value the accomplishments of emergency medical service providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, I, Joe Herring Jr., Mayor of the City of Kerrville, do hereby proclaim this week Emergency Medical Services Week. Thank you, guys. And come to the microphone and just say a few words. How long have you been with the department, and any other comments you'd like to make?
My name is Stephen Boyd. I've been with the department for 23 years, and we appreciate all the support that y'all have given us over all these years. Thank y'all very much.
My name is Jess Connor. I've been with the department for 8 years. I'm a local Tybee grad. Appreciate all the support throughout the years.
My name is Patrick Brunelli. Been here 9 years, and really appreciate y'all's support so we can take care of y'all.
My name is Daniel Patton. I've been with Kerrville for 10 years. Thank you for all your support.
Brandon Bruton, 16 years, and it's an honor to serve. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. I've ridden in one of those ambulances once, and they took good care of me, so thank you very much. Next, we want to recognize our teen court volunteers. All teen court volunteers, please join me down front. Good, clap, that's good. Please, just make a line. That's a lot of kids. I'm glad y'all are here. Not kids, a lot of young people, excuse me. Good, thank you, thank you. Judge, good, Judge. What I'd like to do, I do have 23 certificates of recognition, and rather than read all 23, what I would like to do is ask our Assistant City Attorney, William Tash, to come explain the program, and then we'll call out the names on the certificates, and if you're here, we'll ask you to come up and say a brief word or two about yourself and your experience on teen court. Does that sound fair? All right, Mr. Tash.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a fair representation of all of our teenagers who have volunteered. These are all volunteers. They represent several different cities, or schools around here. So we have teenagers from Tybee, from Heritage, from Our Lady of the Hills, and from Centerpoint. So we are pulling from a lot of places other than Kerrville, and we really appreciate that because we also saw a lot of defendants from other communities other than Kerrville. So we had defendants in our inaugural, let me start. A lot of people don't know what teen court is, so I shouldn't assume that you do. So teen court is a process by which teenagers volunteer to be attorneys and jurors, and that's who you're looking at right now, and they help other teenage people who get Class C misdemeanors primarily, use this as a way to keep it off their record. So they can graduate from high school and turn 18 without a record. And so for teenagers, we have the attorneys who are assigned to the defendants to represent them and to prosecute them. And the other teenagers who want to be jurors sit on the jury, and they're the ones who decide what their punishment will be. And that punishments can be community service, it can be other terms. So if you're a defendant, you can be ordered to come and be a juror on other defendants' trials. And they also have the possibility of ordering classes. And they've done all of those jobs very admirably. And so we wouldn't have this without the school support, without city council support, without the police department support, and without the support of members of our community. So I would like to thank several people. We feed them. That's a good way to get them to volunteer, by the way. We feed them for every teen court meeting. And so Chick-fil-A has donated to us. Buzzies has donated to us. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And then we have had other people buy food for us as well. So, yes, Councilman Harris and his wife have donated food. Mike Hayes has donated food. Thomas Hurt's firm has donated for food. The Republican women have donated food, and the women of the Episcopal Church have donated food. And that's really appreciated too. So if you know somebody who is a teenager who wants to volunteer, or if you are an adult and you want to volunteer in that way, we would really appreciate it. But thank you very much, Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity.
Judge, would you like to say a few words?
Some people think I'm short. I'm not. These guys are so incredible that they've stepped up. They've taken their time. They are really busy. We've got some seniors here that are graduating, and they're here tonight. I just can't say enough really wonderful things. Teenagers are such good human beings. They really are. And we've got a lot of good ones in this community. So always know when you see the bad reports that there are twice as many kids out here that are serving our community and doing a great job. So thank y'all for your support, and thank all of you guys.
All right, what I'll do is I'll call out a name, and if you're here, step forward, say something about yourself, and then go back to your place, because we still have to take a picture, okay? We're gonna start off with a hard name to say, Noel Agolto. Come up, please.
Hi, I'm a sophomore at Our Lady of the Hills, and I'm a juror. Thank you.
Azure Anderson. We'll do that one later. Brody Butler. Brody here. Emma Clayton. Emma here. Mason Cummings. Is anyone here? Matthew Serwinski.
If you see how many volunteers there are, thank you.
Hello, I'm Matthew Zwinski, and I'm ending my sophomore year at Our Lady of the Hills. Thank you.
And Julian Duarte.
Hello, I am Julian Duarte, and I'm ending my sophomore year at Tybee High School.
Bella Flores.
Hi, my name is Bella Flores, and I'm ending my junior year at Tybee High School. And Teen Court has been such an amazing experience for me and possibly opened up some career doors in the future, so I'm very thankful.
Hattie Gilbert. No? Enzo Gomez. Sloan Hendricks. Anna Henson. Good. Thank you, Anna.
I'm Anna Henson. I'm a senior at Tybee. And this has been such a great experience for me, learning more about our community's legal system, and is a great way to serve my community. So thank you.
They're pulling the ones that aren't here, make it a little easier. Henley Emmel. Henley.
I'm Henley Emmel, and I'm a freshman at Tybee High School, and I was a juror this year. Thank you.
William Jackson.
Hi, I'm Will Jackson, and this program has given me a lot of opportunities to discover fields that I previously would not have looked into. I'm a senior at Tybee, and next year I will go to the University of Texas at Austin.
Jackson Riverburn. Right here.
Hi, my name is Jackson Rydberg, and I was just glad for this opportunity to serve my community.
William Russ. Lily Segura.
Hi, I'm Lily Segura. I'm a freshman at Our Lady of the Hills, and I was a juror this year for Teen Court.
Maya Sosa. You go, Maya.
Hi, my name is Maya Sosa. I am a junior at Tybee High School, and not only has Teen Court helped me discover law and how to be an attorney, but I've also made a lot of connections and friendships that I wouldn't have made otherwise. Thank you.
William Sumner.
Hi, I'm Will Sumner, and I'm a junior at Tybee High School. I've really enjoyed my time at Teen Court and serving my community.
And last among those who are here tonight, Jacob White.
Hi, I'm Jacob. I'd like to thank everybody for being here, and thank you to all those that make this happen. I've volunteered for Teen Court, and I've also worked for the city being a lifeguard. And it really is a fantastic place to grow. I'm a senior this year, and so I'll be leaving soon. So thank you.
How we do this, let's give them all a big round of applause. And also the adults who helped with the program. All right, We're going to take a picture, and everybody hold your certificate where the camera can see it. Right. One more.
I completely forgot to mention, we have attorneys in the community that come help and volunteer. We have Patrick O'Feal, we have Thomas Hurt, Hunter Moose, and they come every month. They help train our kids, they walk them through the process, and they're volunteers. So I just wanted to reach out to them and say thank you.
All right, thank you for being here. There may still be some cupcakes out front. Right? You're ready, you're free to go. Thank you for coming. And thank you for being part of the first teen court, very first. All right, next, National Salvation Army Week. Major, would you join me, please? You can join me right here. Perfect. Thank you for being here. We have tried to set up a meeting for several months, and this is the first time we've actually met. So I'm glad to meet you. I'm glad you're here. The Salvation Army does wonderful things for our community, and I'm happy to issue this proclamation. This is a proclamation of the city of Kerrville. Whereas the Salvation Army has faithfully and consistently worked to help those in need of our community 365 days a year, providing assistance to individuals and families who may find themselves in crisis. And whereas in 1954, the week of November 18th through December 4th, now recognized in May, was declared by the United States Congress and proclaimed by President Dwight Eisenhower to be the first National Salvation Army Week, as a reminder to Americans to give freely of themselves. And whereas the Salvation Army is issuing a rallying cry for Americans to love beyond. The organization's message is simply that when we love beyond the circumstances of life, we can provide hope and help for millions who need it. Love beyond shelter, love beyond hunger, and love beyond disasters. Love Beyond is also a symbol of the resources and programs that so many people rely on year-round when they turn to the Salvation Army for assistance. And whereas the Salvation Army annually helps more than 24 million Americans overcome poverty, addiction, and economic hardships through a range of social services by providing food for the hungry, emergency relief for disaster survivors, rehabilitation for those suffering from drug and alcohol abuse, and clothing and shelter for people in need. The Salvation Army is responsible for nearly 7,000 centers of operation around the country. Now, therefore, I, Joe Herring Jr., Mayor of Kerrville, do hereby proclaim May 12th through 17th, 2025 as National Salvation Army Week. Thank you. And I've asked the Major to say a few words.
So I really just want to say thank you. The work we do is not possible without the support we get from donors, friends, volunteers, everybody in the community coming alongside us, one another, to really serve and uplift our community. So this week is in recognition of the works we do, but it's the people that do the works that we want to say a special thank you to for all that you do to help support us and come alongside us. Thank you very much.
Mark and Laura, can you make your way down here for me? Over the years, a group of us get together most mornings for coffee. And the most delightful person in that group is Laura. Mark's a close second, but Laura's the most delightful. So come join us right here. Join me right here, please. You're doing great. Let me read this to you, okay? All right, here we go. This is a proclamation of the City of Kerrville. Whereas Williams syndrome is a rare genetic developmental disorder that is present at birth and affects many parts of the body. Williams syndrome occurs randomly in about 1 in 10,000 births worldwide, with an estimated 20,000 to 30,000 in the United States. Whereas Williams syndrome is characterized by medical and cognitive problems, including cardiovascular disease, developmental delays, learning disabilities, and occurs equally in both males and females in every culture. And whereas the Williams Syndrome Association was founded in 1982 as a nonprofit organization that provides comprehensive resources for people and families living with Williams syndrome, as well as doctors, researchers, and educators. And whereas through its efforts to raise public awareness, fund critical new research, share valuable information, and support families, the WSA has improved the quality of life and futures of those affected by Williams syndrome. And whereas the Williams Syndrome Association, as well as the families and friends of those with Williams syndrome, should be commended for their hard work, compassion, and commitment to educating our communities about this rare disorder. Now, therefore, I, Joe Herring Jr., Mayor of the City of Kerrville, do hereby proclaim May 2025 as Williams Syndrome Awareness Month. Congratulations.
I'm short. Thank you, Mayor, for that. It's important to me. It's important to all of us who have Williams syndrome to be recognized. That's all. That's it.
That's perfect. Let me tell you one thing that Laura does for me. When someone walks into the coffee shop that I don't know, you know, the first person who walks up to say hi to them is Laura. And she says, "My name is Laura. What's your name?" And by the time they come around me, I already know who they are. So thank you. You helped me so much. Here's a proclamation, and I hope to see you tomorrow at coffee. Let's take a picture. There's our camera. Perfect. See you guys. This is the last one before we start our regular meeting. It's about Building Safety Month. Who's going to represent Building Safety Month? Come on down. All right, this is a proclamation of the City of Kerrville. Whereas Kerrville is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and essential role of our homes, buildings, and infrastructure play, both in everyday life and when disasters strike. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of these buildings. And whereas these modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from hazards such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildland fires, floods, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our community's largely unknown protectors of public safety, our local code officials, who assure us of safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas, Game On, the theme for Building Safety Month 2025, encourages us all to get involved and raise awareness about building safety on a personal, local, and global scale. And whereas each year, in observance of Building Safety Month, people all over the world are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Now, therefore, I, Joe Herring Jr., Mayor of Kerrville, do hereby proclaim May 2025 as Buildings Safety Month. Thank you, guys. You know, these guys are heroes. You may not see them running by in a big red truck with the sirens, and you may not see them at the head of a parade, but you know in this building that you're safe because they work to inspect it and make sure it's built to code. And not only this building, buildings all over town. So thank you so much for your work. And please come up, say your name, your role, and any other comments you'd like to make.
Drew Paxton, Director of Development Services. I just want to thank everybody and thank the mayor and council for the proclamation. Obviously, building code safety is important to the community, and we just want to make sure we're keeping everybody safe.
Trina Sanchez, Assistant Director of Development Services, and I just want to thank everybody. Thank you.
We really don't have time for anything else, just kidding. We're gonna go up and start the regular meeting. Shelley, do we have anybody signed up for Visitors Forum?
Yes, sir, we do have two. Harold Buell.
Harold, come on up. There's a microphone right here for you.
Hi, my name's Harold Buell. I'm the president of Fitness First Sports and Kerr Screen Graphics. Here in Kerrville, we opened in 1978. In River Hills Mall, we were the second store to open, but now we're currently in another location. I just wanted to bring to mind, there has been some articles in the paper about big sporting goods chain coming into River Hills Mall. And I just want to ask that keep it at a level playing field. If they're going to want tax subsidizing or tax whatever it is to build and do that, and it's not fair to, and I've counted at least 17 businesses in the, that's everything from, I just wrote down a few real quick. And of course, Hibbett's, Gibson's, Walmart, Fitness First Sports, Kerr Kayaks, Young Guns, DBAT, Hill Country Bicycle Works. Those people live here, they put their money in the bank here, it doesn't leave every day at 5 o'clock. And so I just would ask for you to consider that when you get approached by this attempt to come in with unfair advantage. And I'd like to close in, I've started track meets for, 30 years for Tybee. And it'd be like a coach coming up to me and saying, hey, I got a kid that's 7 foot tall, and it takes him 10 yards to go full speed. So would you give him a 10-yard head start? I go, no, we're gonna line them all up, I'm gonna shoot the gun, and the best man's gonna win. And that's what I'm asking for you, to not allow somebody to come in with some kind of tax subsidizing business deal that's unfair to the people that are already here paying taxes and employing more people than they will employ. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Harold.
Angela Kennedy.
Ms. Kennedy.
Angela Kennedy, 547 Fairway Drive. Mayor Herring and council members, thank you for this opportunity to share about a recent collaboration between Heart of the Hills Heritage Center and Kerr County Historical Commission. On May 15th at the Kerr Arts and Cultural Center, a new exhibit sponsored by the Historical Commission and the Heritage Center will open. The exhibit, Wartime Letters Home, Sharing Stories of Service, will honor 28 service members who served from World War I to present day, all with connections to Kerr County. We are highlighting their service through wartime letters exchanged. Some names will be recognized, such as Earl Garrett, Sidney Baker, Francisco Lemos, and Emmett Rodriguez. Others are newly told stories, such as Bill Bullard, Rosalie Meek, and Susie and John McCullough. Some are living and some are dead. but the memories of these service members live with their families and loved ones through the letters that they have shared with us. Through every military conflict, veterans have written home to their families and friends. In every letter or email sent, there are similarities. They write about missing home and loved ones. They write about the countries where they are stationed and the friends that support them on the front lines. They share their pride and their angst at what they are called to do, and the letters show the impact of war in a very personal way. We are grateful to those who have shared their letters and stories to honor these brave Americans. It is but a snapshot of the many who have served and those that are still serving, and we are honored to be able to tell these stories. We want to thank Kerr Arts and Cultural Center for being the venue for the exhibit, Rivers Edge Gallery for printing, Joe Herring and the families and loved ones of the military service members featured in the exhibit for providing letters, photographs, and artifacts for display. The exhibit runs from May 15th through June 21st at Kerr Arts and Cultural Center. There is a public reception on Saturday, May 24th from 2 to 4 p.m. We invite you to join us to celebrate and honor these brave men and women who have served our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. And the chairperson of the Kerr County Historical Commission is also here, Barbara Oaks, who's also been, and Linda's here, I didn't see you before, who they've all been working very hard on this exhibit, and I look forward to seeing it, I think, Thursday, correct? Good. Any other
No, sir.
citizen speakers? The next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine and can be approved in one motion, unless a council member, staff, or member of the public asks for separate consideration of an item. Does anyone on council care to remove an item from the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items.
Is there-
Items 4A, B, and C.
There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, so vote. And it passes unanimously. This is an ordinance, first reading. Shelley, would you read it in, please?
Ordinance number 2025-12, an ordinance amending the city's fiscal year 2025 budget by reallocating funds from the city's fiscal year 2024 budget, transferring funds from the fiscal year 2024 street maintenance fund to the capital projects fund, accounting for previously received American Rescue Plan Act grant funds, and making other amendments as provided. There are no citizen speakers signed up.
Ms. Behrens.
Good evening, everyone. It's a little different down here, but I'll do my best. So as you know, anytime we're going to move money either between years or between funds, it requires a budget amendment. So this will be the first reading of two. What you see in the attachment, I thought I would just walk you through it a little bit because it's a little bit complicated if the debits and credits kind of get muddy. But basically what we're doing is taking some money from FY24 for items that were either encumbered but weren't received until 25 and moving that money over to 25. And then a few cleanup items within 2025. We'll talk here real quick. I do not have a clicker, so.
Just say next slide.
Martin, are you moving me? Can you move me? Thank you. Okay, so as you look at the first slide here, on the general fund, you'll see the transfer out to CIP street maintenance, and this is something that's not really a policy, but it's been a practice for several years. We reallocate money not spent in prior year. As you know, paving happens toward the warmer months, and so they often start projects that aren't completed in the year. So this money just is moved over to the upcoming year, and these projects have been completed, and so that money is all accounted for. Increase in credit card processing fee revenue. You remember we implemented these fees in the budget this year. It was a new fee that we implemented to offset the actual cost of the city's processing for cards. And we really didn't have any data to base that on. So this is the next three lines here are just accounting for what we estimate the year end for each of those processing fees to be by fund. Next slide, please. So the next one is exactly what we talked about. So reallocation. So the street dump truck you can see there was budgeted in 24, but not received until 25. So that's moving that over into this year. And then same thing with an ambulance that crossed over years. We actually used ARPA funds for that. So we're moving that from asset replacement to ARPA. And then if you remember, we pre-ordered an ambulance at the end of 24, not expecting it to come until 25. But the chassis came in, so we have that part that we actually paid for in 24. So that's just adjusting for that. And then on the water fund, this is asset replacement as well. All items here that were ordered and encumbered in '24, but not received until '25. So we're paying for those at a different fiscal year. The one kind of difference in '25, during the asset replacement budget back in the summer, water production team had asked for a membrane replacement and expansion to happen in water production, and after they have considered this project further, they decided that the benefit of the expansion was not worth the funding that it was going to cost, and so they've asked us to reduce that, but then allow them to buy an excavator that is actually scheduled to be replaced in '26 before we get into tariffs and those things that we're already seeing. And this is actually a discounted price, and we will also have the resale price built in there. So with the net of those, we're still well below the $104,000 that we were going to originally spend. So that's a new item add. And so if you have any questions about that, I'll do my best. I don't think David's here if I didn't explain that good enough. But we would be asking for this to be replaced in '26. So next slide, please. So this is just an increase in the budget for fiscal year '25 for HHHC. I want to make sure everyone understands this is not an increase in the budget of the overall project, but we estimate what we're going to spend on capital projects as we go into the budget during the summer, and this project wasn't moving at all at that time. So we had budgeted $1.8 million for '25, but the project is really moving. And so worked with Kyle and his team, and we feel like that we're gonna mostly be completed in this year, so we went ahead and added an additional $2 million. And really all this does is just make your variance closer. Your gap is smaller whenever we go through audit, and we have to do explanations on anything that has large variances. So that's really all that's doing. And then on the grant fund, if you remember back in December, you guys approved the use of the remaining grant funds and how we were going to allocate those funds, and all that was done. But again, this just puts it on the books in the budget as a budgeted expense. That's all that's doing. Next slide, please. That is all I have. So I'm happy to answer specific questions. You do have an attachment, but it is actual the journal entry, so it's debits and credits. We want that recorded so that we know what we actually did, but wanted to walk through the big ones.
Does anyone have a question for Ms. Behrens? No?
Thank you.
Then do we have a motion on ordinance 2025-12?
I'll move to approve ordinance 2025-12 on first reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, so vote. And it passes unanimously. I'm going to tell you guys the truth. When someone's speaking at that microphone, it sounds a little bit like the teacher in a Charlie Brown special. It's wonk, wonk, wonk. And I don't know how to improve that. I think it just may be that my ears are old. I am missing the technology of City Hall because I could follow along on the presentation without being a shadow puppet. And so we will have a chance to look at this again at our next meeting, and maybe we'll be able to answer better questions at that time. All right, the next item on our agenda is resolution number 10, 2025, and that's going to be introduced by Michael Hornis. Mr. Hornis. Where are you? There you are.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is certainly an odd way to be doing this. I don't like being on the dais. That's what y'all's job is. I like hiding in the back as much as I can. But we are here today to discuss the resolution and the petition that was put forth by Whiskey Springs to call a public hearing for the creation of a public improvement district, or a PID. Before I get started with a brief presentation, I just want to highlight we've got Mr. Jim Boyden from Whiskey Springs down here in the audience, also, along with Pablo Brinkman, who represents the Whiskey Springs folks. And so Martin, you can go to the next one. As an overview, we've discussed this project quite a bit. It's come through as an amended planned development district quite a while ago. This is at the intersection of I-10 and Highway 16. The PDD calls for a luxury hotel of 300 rooms, tournament level golf course, large lot residentials, about 357 is what it calls out in the PDD. 7 commercial lots, which is 7 commercial lots, but possibly many commercial spaces within those lots. And then multifamily units within 10 buildings. Martin, you can go to the next one. So just wanted to highlight, kind of what we're talking about here when we talk about their build, the potential for it. So the current appraised value of that property is about $7 million. The estimated appraised value of the land by itself, no buildings on it, is about $238 million. And then based on, again, their estimates by 2036 at full build out, they'd be at just over 1.13 billion for that. Martin, you can move forward. This is messing with my cadence. This is odd. I apologize. So one of the things that we always discuss and is on top of the mind for staff, for council, for all of us here is water supply concern. That's been a big topic of the conversation, and we'll get further into that, and we'll have formal presentations when we come back to you with development agreements from the group and the actual public hearing for the PID creation. But I think it was important to start off with where their attitude has been and where discussions have gone with them, is that there's no way that we can allow for irrigation with potable water for your golf course. Nobody really does it around here. We're very limited. And so they have gone back and forth and tweaked and looked at a bunch of different options, and staff and the developer have talked about ways in which we can increase the capacity of the storage facilities for the reuse water. So that way they are not relying on our reuse water, because we're kind of at capacity. So we have contractually contracted out almost all of it, and that which is left for a purpose, for future potable drinking water should we ever need that. And so they have been coming back with really good ideas, and they have a plan that would make them self-sufficient in those high demand months. Now, the low demand months, when it's not hot out and people aren't watering as much, we do have quite a bit of water we can dole out to them. But we need to ensure that they had in their plan enough water to account for 90 days of drought, right? So if we couldn't give you a lick of water, how much water would you need for 90 days to cover your irrigation? And they've come back with the plan to cover that. So that demand on the potable water would be restricted to the homes, the hotels, the commercial spaces. We've been talking to them about low impact design and ways that they can mitigate. We said, if you're coming from Houston, I know you're used to big lush lawns, but that's not what you're going to do out here. And so they hear that loud and clear. Martin, next slide. So benefits to the project. I think one of the benefits is that for 20 years that PDD has been sitting there, and people have been kind of unable to make any headway with it. So I think it's an interesting property to turn around and to develop, and it's an interesting vision that they have for it out there. It checks a couple of boxes in Kerrville 2050. We've been talking about hotels for quite a while and how to get to them, and so this would be a luxury resort that would offer people a place to stay, and I think it might also kind of kick the tires on folks who have hotels around here that maybe they could step up their game a little bit and do some renovations. So I think it's kind of a win. The commitment to the sustainability through water reuse, because they really want to be as neutral as they can be, and we need them to be. And again, I think it's not a super dense development, and I think it's going to provide some good value to that area that's been hard to develop for a long time. All right, Martin, you can go to the next slide. So what is before you tonight? So there are many, many steps in this, and if you look through your packet, there was kind of a calendar of events, and if you could zoom in and see it, it's pretty small print. There is a lot of things that kind of need to happen. This is step one. This is step one. This is the developer asking the city council, are you willing and amenable to hold a public hearing in a future date to consider a public improvement district? And so that's what's before you tonight. So what is a public improvement district? So a public improvement district is a way to finance the infrastructure for development. And they go through the city to kind of facilitate that process. It's within Texas state statute to allow it. And that public improvement district is repaid through assessments to the property owners, right? So not to the citizens of Kerrville, but through the property owners that are within the boundaries of that area. And so that is their request tonight to set a public hearing for that. Martin, go to the next slide. So at previous council meeting, you came out of executive session and authorized the city manager to begin negotiating a development agreement with Whiskey Springs. We have started that process. We're quite a bit of ways into it at this point. And that will be coming back, I believe, on the schedule, so it's June 10th. So coming back the same time as the PID public hearing. And then, so don't have to do that because that's already been done. And then the next step would be to schedule that public hearing for the creation of the PID. Martin, you can go to the next one. We go back to the one before it. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Mayor. Again, Mr. Boyden's here from Whiskey Springs if you want to.
First, do we have any citizen speakers signed up to speak?
No, sir.
Before the applicant is here, do you have anything you'd care to add? Thank you. I need to make several clarifications.
Please do.
First, this is not a city financial obligation. There's no city financial obligation with this PID.
No, sir.
Second, it's assessment-based. In other words, it's the general taxpayers of our community are not going to pay these PID assessments, only the property owner within the district.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Last, there's a formal procedural compliance that includes public hearing notice, mailing requirements, appraisal validation, boundary definitions, and other compliances with Chapter 372. According to the schedule we have here, all those steps have to be met before this becomes official.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. What I really want the public to understand is this does not obligate the city. This does not affect the city's bond rating, credit capacity. This is separate from the city of Kerrville.
That is correct, yes, sir. It does not affect the city's debt capacity, bond rating.
This planned development district was approved a long time ago, correct?
Yes, sir. I think in the early 2000s, 2004, possibly.
For those playing at home, that's after I was mayor, but before I was mayor. So I didn't have anything to do with it. But it's been idle or vacant or waiting to be developed since the early 2000s. All right. This is the first group that's come through, I believe, that has shown not only the will to do a development there, but also the capacity to do a development there. Okay, good. Any questions for Mr. Hornis or for the applicant who is here?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, please.
I want to add one clarifying point on the public improvement district. It can only be used for public infrastructure, so it cannot be used for private use. So anything under the PID can only be used for public infrastructure.
Good. Thank you for clarifying that. Any other comments or questions?
I would like to. I had the pleasure of meeting Jim earlier, and he mentioned to me, by the way, I have toured this under construction golf course area, and it is amazing what they've already done. But the gentleman who's designing this, Dale, this is his like 49th golf course to design and build. But you mentioned something earlier about, we're from the desert. I mean, in Arizona, where you've built other golf courses, you're familiar with water. So would you mind just stating a little bit about maybe one of those golf courses and what you've learned and over the years, your experience and your expertise? Because that is a topic that comes up with this golf course a lot, is water.
As you come up, please state your name and address for the record.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No problem. My name's Jim Boyden. My home address is 15 South Fairway Drive in North Salt Lake, Utah. You're correct. I have been involved in large master plan community development my entire career. Much of that time was spent in the Phoenix metropolitan area and up in southern Utah as well as northern Utah. My most recent project is a family-owned piece of property that we developed, 1,600 acres we annexed into a very small community of about 1,400 residents who had very similar concerns that had been raised in these public meetings. In working in Arizona, where water is, there isn't a community where water isn't the most important issue. It's really shaped the ethos of how we develop, and I'm of the opinion that I may be a little different from most developers who feel like you maximize profit by maximizing density. That's not what we do. We come in and we see a property that has unique characteristics. We have our own internal criteria that we like to meet, as far as projects that we're interested in pursuing. And that really is the special sense of place that each property has. And we try to respect that to the maximum degree we can. So cramming as many homes in is not what we do. We look at what the property can yield, and we try to be the most, we try to be as much of a steward of that resource, whether it's water or energy or green construction practices, open space. We try to preserve what nature's already given us. I grew up in a community where growth kind of went organically, it kind of stalled, and it bothered me. And so when I went to college, I got a degree in landscape architecture and environmental planning with an idea of trying to create some sense of order to growth, because growth is inevitable. And then I began to try to pursue projects that not only were organized, but were also beautiful, that people wanted to be in, spend time in. And as my career has taken me to various areas of the desert Southwest, we kind of stumbled upon Kerrville, almost accidentally. And when we visited this site, it became just a passion for us to come and do this project that the city had decided 2 decades earlier to grant entitlements to. And I like to think it's just been waiting for us and our group to come along, because it represented exactly what we like to do. And we try to do it in a way that's respectful to the history of the area, to the culture of the community, and all the while being as respectful to the resources that we've been given, and be the tip of the spear for conservation, not only in water, but in any resource that we have access to. So when it comes to water, some of the strategies that have been used in the past is reclaimed water. Communities, Phoenix has been doing this for a long time. The Las Vegas area has been doing this for a long time. They take the effluent water, the treated water from the sewer treatment plants, and they redistribute it back into the landscapes. And we do away with unnecessary irrigatable area. Turf, it used to be wall-to-wall turf. You look at a place like Augusta National, which I think everyone can envision in their mind. There's grass everywhere, but a lot of it isn't the playing surface. And so what we do is we target those areas that are irrigatable, and we limit the amount of irrigation that's required and still preserve the natural environment and the nature that's around it that's been there forever. When it comes to inside the home, we try to minimize the amount of water that's used inside the home. In Arizona and in Utah, the average historical usage per home was around 3/4 of an acre foot per home per year. And we looked at that and said, there's no reason why it needs to be that much. And in our developments, we've tried to get that number down to less than a half acre foot, or even 1/3 of an acre foot. In some cases, even less, because there's no reason. Someone mentioned, might have been Mr. Hornis, the lush lawn. In the desert, that doesn't make a ton of sense, right? We think a xeriscape yard, that's the natural beauty that was here historically, is just as pretty if it's done correctly. And that's our goal, is to do it as correctly as we can. And I really do want to take an opportunity to commend the staff, Mr. Mayor. You have a tremendous staff. I've had the privilege of working in a number of communities, but this staff sees this as an opportunity to really collaborate and be a partner in this. And I want to commend everyone that's had a hand in this. They've been wonderful to work with. That's a breath of fresh air for a developer.
Thank you. Any questions?
Comment.
Go ahead, please.
Like Councilmember Siegerman, I've been fortunate to go out and tour. My number one question was water, and the answer I got was remarkable. Not only for the irrigation side of it, using the reclaimed water, but also being able to recapture 40% of that water that's normally runoff, but also the grass and the amount of money to Paspalin costs, and the high drought tolerant and high salt content tolerant grass that y'all are putting down, because golfers know you got to have grass, and for the deeper roots with the less water, I commend y'all with how y'all are trying to handle this and do everything, because when it first came to us, we were like, water, 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 no.
Right.
But now with everything we're seeing that's being done, I applaud y'all and what y'all are doing out there, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
I have a comment or two, but any other comments before?
I would kind of second what place 2 says, that the water is a big thing, but this development's already in the city limits. It's a little different. We've looked at other where we have to take on responsibility for ground that we really don't have responsibilities for. So we have a certain responsibility to provide at least the drinking water, and the plans for the irrigation water are very sound, I think. And I think it is, like Jim said, it's a low density development, and therefore maybe not as intense water usage as potentially could have been in that area. And so it seems there's good reputation for putting in a high quality development, and I think we're lucky to have the opportunity. So we still work to do, but look forward to seeing how this all develops.
Thank you.
First of all, it was a pleasure meeting you tonight. I have not been able to tour yet. I'm probably the only one up here. You haven't either? Okay, well, anyway, I've been in Kerrville long enough to have seen several attempts at making something there on that property. And so I'm grateful to finally see something happen, and I'm looking forward to touring and being able to get a vision of what you've got planned.
We look forward to having you.
You and I have had an interaction before where the neighbors to the property were having a potential conflict. And I admire the way that you responded to those neighbors. Thank you.
Yep.
As you can imagine, a project of this scale and cost and size is going to have a lot more scrutiny than someone adding on to a garage. Given the visible nature of this project, I appreciate the way you've been very public and transparent in telling your story. But I want you to commit to continue that. As more dirt is turned and as more things happen out there, the public is going to ask not only us, but you, what's going on. And I appreciate what you've done in the past, but I want a commitment that that will continue.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions? We do have a resolution before us, and if anyone would like to make a motion, I would certainly entertain it.
I'll make a motion.
Please do.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve resolution number 10-2025.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor, so vote.
Hey,
All
Mike,
right. Step one of a long process.
does
Yes,
that
sir.
also, do they have to also call for the public hearing as a part of that motion?
No, that's captured in the resolution.
It's in the resolution, okay. So, first step, long trail, some steep trail, but we're on our way. All right, 6B, master lease agreement with First Citizens Bank on golf courts. Ms. Ledesma, I haven't seen much of you since the birthday party at the park. That was a wonderful event. Thank you for all you did.
Good evening. Thank you for coming, Mayor.
I am here requesting authorization for the city to finalize and execute a lease agreement for a new fleet of carts at the Scott Schreiner Golf Course. Our current lease agreement with EasyGo expires in July. Bids were solicited for replacement, and Club Car was selected as offering the best overall value for a 60-month lease of 56 carts. Financing for this lease will be provided by First Citizens Bank, and as outlined in the agreement attached to your packet. And I just want to note that we heard from Club Car, or they've informed us that any orders placed after May 15th will be subject to tariff-driven price increases. So we recommend that council grant this authorization before that deadline to lock in our current pricing and avoid any additional costs. Thank you for your consideration, and I'm here if you have any questions.
Does the resolution before us allow for that speedy? In other words, she requested that we have a certain time frame. Does this resolution or this agreement allow for that?
I think my understanding is if we sign the agreement with the provider that we're locked into the current pricing.
That'll meet the requirements?
Yes.
All right. Is there a motion then, or any discussion or questions? So a motion then?
I'll make the motion to authorize the city manager to finalize and execute the contract for the 56 fleet Club Car golf carts.
Second. Two golfers made a motion and a second. Any discussion? The third golfer didn't say anything. All in favor, so vote. All right, lock down those prices. Thank you. Item 6C, rejection of bids. Ms. Ledesma. No, we're going to start with Mr. Hornis. Sorry.
I'll take this one, and Rosa can answer the tough questions. So this is part of the $20 million quality of life bond. And we put out solicitation and received 2 bids, and each one of those bids was well in excess of what we were going to be able to afford. So if you remember, initially we had a $7 million price tag, which would cover the architecture, the design, and also the construction. The architecture piece is right around $850,000, leaving us about $6.1 million to work with. Now, one of the things that we discussed previously and with EIC was considering raising the ceiling on that project, because we knew we were going to have savings at golf and we knew we were going to have savings at the theater. And so we're in the process of making those changes. But we also said we need to double clutch on these bids, and we put in the value engineering into now the base bid. And so we've not reduced the scope of the service that we're going to provide, but we've made modifications to certain portions of it, types of glass, types of material, certain things that we could shave off without shaving off, again, any of the services, right? So one of the discussions was, can we take out the kid pool? And that was met with a resounding no, right? And so no, so we now have that out to bid, and we're out for proposals. Those proposals are due and we opened on the 28th of this month. And so we're gonna have to be a little aggressive with our schedule in terms of construction, and that's part of the proposal request that we have for folks. But tonight is the rejection, which is formally, action has to be taken by you all to reject those bids. And so without getting too far into the other side, that is our ask for you tonight.
Any questions of Mr. Hornis or Ms. Ledesma?
Well, I do have, okay, so we're going to reject these 2 bids, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then you said we're going to open proposals on the 28th.
Yes, ma'am. So we had to put it back out in the paper. We had to get the addendums done to reduce, so to add those VE laws. So VE is value engineering, right? So we had that discussion during public safety facility where we knew we were going to have to reduce some things after we value engineer what would the material type be. And so those are now inclusive of the bids. We also had folks who weren't able to bid. They missed the deadlines. The type of bidding that we had was a competitive sealed bid, which basically says that you can take the lowest responsible bidder and discuss with them. That's all you can do. this method that's going out now is a request for proposals, which basically says negotiate with the lowest responsible proposal, see how that works. If that works, come to council, we'll sign an agreement. If it doesn't, we'll move to the next one, and we can do that.
Are you optimistic that?
I am. We made a bunch of changes to several items. I think we're gonna get there. I still think we're gonna be over 7 flat for the total. I think we're still gonna need the change to the agreement between the EIC and the city that we discussed, moving that number to 7.75. But I would love for that to just be too high of a number that we don't actually need it all, but I don't want it to come back to you more than once for that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we reject all the bids that were submitted earlier in April.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, so vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, 6D. Mr. Horners, you going to start us off on this one?
And Mayor, we do have one citizen speaker.
Thanks. I appreciate it. We'll start with Mr. Hornis. We'll ask questions of Mr. Hornis. And, well, we'll start with Mr. Hornis and then we'll hear from the citizen speaker. All right.
Okay, so this is a request from the owners of the River Hill Mall to provide them with a sales tax rebate agreement should they entice Academy Sports and Outdoors to come to Kerrville. Martin, you go to the next slide. So Alpha Lake, it's the same owners that have owned it for quite some time now. They have been the owners of River Hill Mall for a long time. And this is the last of their malls that hasn't redeveloped or repurposed into a different form. So as we all know, traditional malls are changing. Somebody said the other day that they should make my generation's senior care facilities look like malls, and we'll remember the childhood we had with arcades. But we have been talking to the mall owners about repurposing that facility for quite a while. It's mentioned in the Kerrville 20 comp plan as a catalyst area, right? There was several discussions during the comp plan update about trying to include the mall into the downtown portion. Ultimately, everybody decided no, because it's not really a part of downtown. So the request is that for River Hill to spend about $4 million to demo and renovate kind of a middle portion of that property. They'll spend $4 million on that. They will have Academy occupying that space no later than 18 months from the effective date of the agreement. The request is that they would be allowed 4 annual sales tax rebates. So again, it's performance-based. So this is if Academy comes and if Academy performs, then for 4 years, the River Hills Mall owners would receive a 50% rebate of those sales taxes generated by Academy. Martin, you go to the next slide. So this is the area that they're talking about. It's a little fuzzy, but so if you're on Sidney Baker looking at it, Belk's will stay there. Burke's to the right will stay there. Entertain Mart will stay. JCPenney's and it's kind of the strips towards the back, which include Hibbett Sports. But they would repurpose, demo and repurpose that area in between Belk's and Burke's. Martin, you go to the next slide. So what does that look like? So I think I discussed it. I'm not sure if it's in the packet. I hope I put that in there. There's a retail leakage report that the city commissioned back in 2018. And one of the things that it said was that there was about $19 million worth of sporting goods purchases that were made outside of Kerrville that generated in Kerrville. So folks who drove to San Antonio, folks who drove to Bernie, wherever to go buy sporting goods. That was just one portion of that. And so Academy's average store is $18 to $22 million. And so that right there would fill the gap in that leakage. Now that report was from 2018, so I don't know if that number has increased or not. So based on that, the proposed annual sales tax for the city of Kerrville would be anywhere between $180,000 and $220,000. Over 4 years of a total, the city would generate $360,000 for the city to $440,000 in sales tax, and $360,000 to $440,000 to the River Hills Mall, not to Academy, but to River Hills Mall for demoing and repurposing that facility. Currently, in the area that they were talking about demising or repurposing, we generate somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 worth of sales tax, so it's not a significant amount. It would require the relocation of those folks, but that's kind of the nature of tenancy, right? If a building's to be repurposed. So the total proposed grant has a not to exceed number. It's total in all 4 years will be not to exceed $500,000 back to the River Hills Mall folks. Martin, you can move to the next slide. And that is it. So turn it back over to you, Mr. Beverly, any questions?
Before we hear from the citizen speaker, any comments or questions for Mr. Hornes from the council?
Just kind of a technical question about how we will know they are spending the $4 million, and that may be my question, Hayes' question. I mean, I know it has it in the contract, but will we work side by side a little bit with them as they make these improvements to make sure they're fulfilling their commitment?
When they come in for building permits, they've got to tell us the value, and that's how we assign the cost of our permit. So that's kind of check it out.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions for the citizen speaker? All right, Shelley?
George Baruti.
Mr. Baruti, please come up, that'd be great, thank you.
George Baruti, 1616 Glen Road. We're officing right upstairs next door if you care about it. But anyways, so to start off with, I wasn't intending to, but I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what Mr. Buell was talking about. He mentioned moving stores out. You also leaving apparently Hibbett's in there, which I would have to guess they're going to be gone pretty soon after this happens. So there's kind of a balancing act that's not being talked about, which is kind of the reason historically we haven't chased after retail sales with economic incentives, because you're really just picking winners and losers that way, and you're harming the local people using their own tax dollars to do it. And it seems more than a little bit insensitive. The other thing that's going on is we're showing a trend here where as a city we're incentivizing some things over the past couple of years. We have used public money to incentivize housing that actually has raised the cost of housing. And we are now actually, and we did that with apartments and houses, and now we're going to go to incentivizing with taxpayer dollars, lowering the household incomes with jobs that pay less than the median right now. So instead of narrowing the gap of expense and revenue for a household, you're actually widening it through the actions of this body. Makes no real sense. As far as the incentives, he mentioned that it's a performance-based. Best I can tell from the agreement that I saw, the only performance is that Academy is leasing the place. If Academy leases it, then the mall is going to get 50% of whatever Academy brings in sales tax. It doesn't even matter if they get $1 million or $10. They're going to get whatever they get based on that percentage. So it's not really very much performance involved. To Ms. Searman's point about the making sure that they're paying it in, I would encourage you to put more than just what they write down as the value. I think you should actually write in, and I think it's fair to ask for it, that you guys get to see receipts of building costs, because if they're saying they're putting in $4 million, I mean, what are we actually going with? Is it whatever they write down as the value? Is it something after the tax assessor comes in and gives the value? What's the number that we're really talking about, and what was the goal? But again, as a general concept, it's really a bad idea to go after retail dollars. One last point about that. The sales the report that you guys talked about was from 2018, and if you're aware of the sales tax changes that occurred in 2020, you realize that all the mail order business that we're getting or buying from this town, that sales tax dollar is coming back to us. So really all we're doing is shifting where our revenue is coming from. It's either going to be local or it's going to be from the mail order. And to give anything away to get that doesn't make a lot of sense. I'd like to see somebody kind of book the numbers, pencil the numbers for the public to see exactly how this is working. Thanks.
Any others, Shelley?
No, sir.
All right. This has been under discussion for some time. I want to revisit several points. There is a grant cap of $500,000 over 4 years. Is that correct?
$125,000 per year is a cap. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
and that's the max. Also, that $500,000 is sales tax revenue that we would not be currently getting from either that spot or from probably the other parts of the tenants of that area of the mall currently.
That is correct, sir.
All right. Now, the other thing is, this is not, I've seen online several discussions that this is a tax incentive for academy sports. In my mind, it's a tax incentive for revitalizing that mall. And while we can debate the future of malls in America, walking through that mall, even someone who's not an expert in retail sales could tell you that it needs to be revitalized. It would benefit our community to be revitalized. Is the contract specific on one retailer, or is it open? Is it specific to that company, or is it open?
It is specific to the one company.
And we have not had confirmation from that company that they're even coming here, have we?
No, sir. They're in negotiations with them now.
Okay. I think I share some of the concerns that I've heard online and in person, that this would seem to favor someone from the outside coming in and disrupting a market that is here. But I'm also seeing within that study that a lot of the purchases in that category are already leaving our community, and they might come to our community. I'm not in the retail business. I don't understand a lot about retail businesses, but I also know that if it prevents people from hopping in the car and going to Bernie or San Antonio, it probably benefits our local economy. I certainly hear Harold Buell's points. I certainly do. Do we have any discussion or comments about this proposal?
I'd like to make one comment. I know what you're talking about online comments, and I've heard it, it's been mentioned to me, that the city is going out to recruit these businesses to come to town. We're not going out and finding Academy to come to Kerrville. We're not asking more banks to come to Kerrville. If they want to come to Kerrville and they can have the property and they can move here, there's a reason they're coming to Kerrville. Because they see where we're at. Banks, I know banks are, I'm a banker, Kent's a banker. There's a reason we have so many banks here in town. And that's because Kerr County is the second wealthiest county in the state of Texas per capita. So that's why they're coming. If businesses want to come to town, let the businesses come. Responsibility is what we look at and what we do for it. So it's not just city council going out to find somebody to come to Kerrville. That's not the case. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Yep, I would say that these incentives that we've been making for the last couple of years or whatever are not coming out of our checkbook. We are not getting some of the increase in the tax base, whether it's property taxes, whether they're sales taxes, but we're not actually coming up with any money. Actually, by doing what we're doing, we're increasing our tax base, increasing our cash flow in. And so I think it's kind of a misnomer to say we're giving away money to, yes, we are giving for a period of time some money that we might have, but we might not have it at all if we didn't do so. And I would have a question for city staff. Do we not have programs for businesses that are in our community, that if they expand and grow, do we not have programs that would help them as well? I mean, it's not like we have EIC that has money for economic development. We have programs that can help our current business owners. Do we not?
Yes, sir, we do. We've had them in the past. We proposed them in budgets. We've got probably had a facade improvement program that we're going to propose in this upcoming budget for those existing businesses, and for those that are expanding or want to expand. That's always available. Yes.
So at any rate, we've had some great opportunities to have an expansion of our community, whether it's housing or businesses, and we do that. We do sacrifice some taxes in the interim, but we are taking, by and large, places where we're getting very little tax income. And so it does a great service to our community to expand our tax base, whether it's sales tax dollars, real estate tax dollars. And so I would encourage any local businesses that want to expand to work with the city staff and see what programs and see what we can do we have a big interest in supporting our local business people, and they shouldn't be shy about asking for help.
Brenda? Oh, sorry.
Mayor, if I could add on to that, shameless plug. So we recently, really this month, implemented a economic development manager position in the city of Kerrville. So they work in conjunction and concert with Kerr EDC, but with the focus of the city limits of Kerrville. And so I would highly encourage you to reach out to Kelly Hagmeyer. She is new in that role, but we have already made a lot of strides along with Michael Hornes in identifying the small business side of business retention and expansion to make sure we can, again, which was a big goal of city council last election, and to focus on the small businesses. So that position is in play.
Thank you. Brenda, any comments? Brenda? I know several of us campaigned on this issue. We campaigned on the issue of making our city government less reliant on property taxes. To do that, you increase revenues from other sources, including sales tax revenues. This feels to me in line with that promise, in that we are expanding sales tax revenue in hopes that we become less reliant on property tax. There's always the law of unintended consequences, and I've heard and thought a lot about this issue because it will have real effects on other businesses, in my opinion. So here's what I'd like to do. We have something before us, and I would certainly like to hear either a motion or more discussion on what we should do with this item. An economic development agreement.
What's the motion need to be then?
Can I say one more thing, Mr. Mayor?
Of course, please.
And I'm sorry, but I met with Doug from Gibson's as well. And I specifically asked Doug, how is this going to affect you if Academy comes? He said it's not. Totally different animal. I said, what about your fishing department? He goes, hey, they can sell fishing gear. He goes, we know they can't sell weapons, so it's not going to affect us at all. It's a different animal. And Mr. Rice, I wasn't going to call on you, but can we just reiterate one more time, sir? Because there was an article that came out last night and it talked about we're giving the farm away as council. Can you just one last time clarify for the citizens that we represent about the taxes, the tax rebates that were offered? Not
Yes, sir.
from us, or not to Academy.
Yes, sir. You know, the Chapter 380, which is an economic development tool, this is going to be performance-based, so it is sales tax. You know, it is correct. They are capped at $125,000 per year for 4 years. So if they don't meet that, then they don't meet it. However, the larger, I think, importance of this, looking at local businesses or local businesses, landlords, if you will, is this is going to the River Hills Mall. This is going to the owners of the River Hills Mall to incentivize them to redevelop a piece of infrastructure that has been heavily talked about in the court of public opinion. And we've seen both sides. We've seen the court of public opinion on the negative, but we've also seen it on the positive of something that's needed. So the money is going to the River Hills Mall owners who have been owners of this mall for a long time, from what I understand. Oh, did that answer your question, Councilman?
It did, yes, sir, thank you.
Any other comments? We have an economic development agreement. We need a motion either to approve it or not approve it.
What do you recommend to say?
Sorry.
I'll make a motion that city staff recommends approval of the economic development agreement with the River Hills LLC, and we agree with that.
Okay, so you're making to approve the economic development agreement with River Hills Mall, River Hills LLC.
I'll second.
We have a motion and seconded. Everybody understand the motion? Okay, good. No? Sorry. We are attempting to approve a motion on an economic development agreement with the owners of the mall. Everybody good there? All right. Any discussion? All those in favor, so vote. And it passes unanimously. That was a hard one. Very, very hard one. Item 6E, public work for hire, art agreement between the city of Kerrville and Vanderbilt Sculpture. Ms.
And
Behrens?
we do have one citizen speaker.
Thank you for letting me know. I don't like this setup at all. I can't see, I can't hear, I can't.
Should I try without the mic?
No, with the mic, please, we have to record
Okay,
it.
okay, sorry about that. I'll be brief. So, you guys are familiar with the Guardian Plaza project that Lane and his team have been working on gathering donations to fund the 2 statues at the new public safety facility. So this has been a process over the last couple of months that we've been working through. And so the agreement in front of you today is to authorize the city manager to finalize and execute the agreement with the artist who has been chosen by the committee upon confirmation of the funding. And so we put that in there to make sure that the funding is available. They're close. They have $156,000 in there today, and the other $24,000 is committed. So we expect to have that this week. And so to avoid delaying this to the next meeting so that they could go ahead and get started on this project, we wanted to bring it to you. So both the artist, Mr. Vanderbilt, and Lane are here tonight. So if you have any specific questions about the project, I'm sure they will be answered. Can you go to the next slide, please, Martin? I did put a couple of slides in here. I think just this one, just so that you could kind of see and the public could see what's being proposed. So these were the designs that were chosen, and so I'm sure there'll be a lot more to come, but I wanted to include these tonight so that you could view that. So total project.
People don't realize that I was actually the model for both of them.
You were? I thought so. I thought I recognized you. So, no, total project $180,000. And so it's moving. Now this group also has plans to continue to raise money for the Guardian Plaza to do other improvements that they've talked to you about.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Behrens? We also have a citizen speaker. Go ahead.
Lane Guerrero.
Mr. Guerrero.
Sorry.
And I believe we have the artist here tonight. A Tybee grad, from what I hear.
Well, it's been 3 years since Prop A passed. Can you believe it? 3 years. And after it passed, this all started with E.A. Hoppy. And he sent an email and congratulating us. We had a group of citizens that made it happen. And he says, what do y'all need? And I said, why don't we do a Memorial Plaza? And I had just gone, it was April about that time, but I had just gone to the police event earlier, and it was in front of the bus station. And you know, when you take a moment of silence and you got semi trucks running by, it's not pleasant. So that just came to mind, and I'm from the funeral and cemetery industry, and so I thought it'd be nice. And he said, yeah, let's do that. That sounds like a great idea. So that's where it started. And so then it went on to, well, they started to design the facility, and then we were worried that we weren't going to have enough space, that we were going to be sort of off to the side and like maybe a little statue over here. And that's where Brenda Hughes came in. And Brenda said, well, how much space do we need? And I said, well, I think it's 75 by 75. And I walked it, they had it at the Callow the next year, and I walked it off, and that was the space. And she goes, whoa, I'm on it. And then that actually happened, which was, it could not have happened without you. So,
Thank you, Michael.
Yes, ma'am.
yes, ma'am, exactly. We know how to say that to Brenda. And so, anyway, I just wanted to say thank you so much for letting us do this. This is entirely privately funded. We have had some amazing citizens come and support us. We had the CAP committee select the artists. They went through 55 applicants all across the country, and they got it down to 3, and one of the 3 was Seth. Well, we didn't know this, but Seth actually is from Kerrville. So that was really something amazing, and it kind of went full circle for him, and I just wanted to bring him down here to look at the space at the facility, but also to introduce him to you, since we'll be seeing this gentleman for the next 9 to 10 months. So, Seth, go ahead.
Yeah, as was mentioned, this is a homecoming project for me. The reason I'm an artist is because of the Cowboy Artist Museum, now the Museum of Western Art, and local Kerrville artists that encouraged me when I was young. I've since created bronze statues all over the country, all over the world, and to be able to have the opportunity to do this is just such an honor. I know how much heart and care and love has gone into this project from Mr. Guerrero and everyone. And so to be entrusted with bringing your vision to life, to honor these first responders, is just a huge honor. So
You need to have a booth at the October 25th festival downtown, just so you can brag about what you do. I was reading about the casting and everything you had to do, and I mean, we're talking life size. I wish I was that tall, but anyway, that's amazing.
yeah, we're going bigger than life size. And as you say, when you talk about online comments, as you know, as you've seen in other places, when you install a bronze statue, everyone becomes an art critic, right? And so that's very important. I've actually been flown around the country fixing statues. And so please know that I'm absolutely committed to making this the finest of its kind. There are some problem statues out there. This is going to be, I think, the pinnacle of this type of work. I'm absolutely committed. I'm taking this project personally. And again, I thank you for entrusting me with such an important project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Before I go, I just wanted to thank Catherine Boyette. She actually managed the entire process seamlessly with 2 committees. We had one committee that sort of did the first round, and the other committee was sort of the second round with a veto, this and that and whatever. But she ran us through like cattle, and it was just like clockwork. And it was tough to go through 55 applicants. They were all really good, but I think we landed on the one that was best for us. So thank you.
Thanks for being here.
All right, we have a recommended action to authorize the city manager to finalize and execute this agreement upon proof of available funds. Any comments or questions?
I'd like to authorize or make a motion to authorize the city manager to finalize and execute agreement upon proof of the available funds.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
I was gonna let you go.
Did I steal your thunder? I'm sorry.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, so vote. And it passes unanimously. Thank you for y'all's hard work, and I look forward to being blown away by your work. Thank you. 6F is a request about property. Mr. Hayes.
And we do have one citizen speaker.
Oh, we did have, I thought they were the citizen speaker. I'm sorry. And the
That's
citizen speaker is?
George Baruti.
Mr. Baruti, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to exclude you.
Oh, no, this one, for this one.
Oh, on the property.
Yes.
I thought so. We'll get to you in just a second. Mr.
I apologize.
You're good. Mr. Hayes.
Thanks, Mayor. This issue started way back in January, and it was convoluted, and Michael's first email to me about it was like, we can get this done pretty quick, and here we are in May. So we're in a good, I think we're in a good place. Martin, if you can go forward one slide. And you're not gonna be able to see this really well, but it's in your packet. These are the documents in your packet. This triangle property is on the corner of 173 and Highway 16, City Baker South. It started as a pending sale. It continues as a pending sale from one bank to another. During their due diligence, the parcels that you see labeled A and B, they are indeed separate from the main property. Parcel A is owned by the bank, parcel B is owned by the city. It's 0.183 acres, about 8,000 square feet. Both A and B used to exist as part of a right-of-way, basically a road that extended beyond G Street. And you can see, you can't really see G Street, but it would be to the top of this map to the north. In 2004, and yes, it's an ordinance that I worked on pursuant to a request from the owner. I don't think it was either of these parties. I'm pretty sure it was not. But pursuant to that request, City Council vacated and abandoned this right-of-way. They did it in 2 equal parts. So parcel A went to the bank and parcel B went to the adjacent owner who owns some storage buildings there. The adjacent owner who received parcel B eventually deeded it back to the city, which is why we own it again. And I don't know, none of our records indicate why that occurred. Nonetheless, there is a deed from that owner to the city, and we accepted it, and it's filed in the property records, and so we are the proud owners of parcel B once again. The bank is requesting that the city deed parcel B to it so that it can use it as part of parcel A. And Martin, if you go to the next slide, please. And this won't help very much, but you'll see the bank there on the corner, and then you'll see the storage facility, and the outline in red, that linear tract, that's one of the parcels. Martin, move forward, please. And so there's B. A is just adjacent to the left of that. And so you can see that B is actually part of the bank's driveway and parking area. So it kind of makes sense when they're going through this sale that the buyer asked about that and said, well, why is that not part of the deal? Well, the city owns parcel B. So bottom line, the potential buyer of the bank wants to buy this parcel B from the city. Staff looked at the issue, and we believe that we don't have to go through any sort of bidding or auction or use a realtor to get rid of it, because it's the size of it and the width of it make it basically unusable for any separate independent use under our development regulations. So it really has no value to anyone, including the city. I asked staff, I asked Public Works. We don't have any utilities in it, but what the plan would be to do is to get value from the new bank owner, and which we found to be about $3,000. Get value from them, and then deed this parcel B to them and reserve a utility easement over the entire tract. So if we ever need to put some public utilities in the tract, we can do that. We of course couldn't damage their property, we'd have to put it all back together. But what I'm recommending the council do is authorize the city manager to convey this property to the bank, and subject to, of course, receiving value, which is $3,240. So that's my synopsis of this issue and my recommendation of the motion.
Any questions for Mr. Hayes before we call on the public speaker, or the citizen speaker? Any questions?
Does Texas state law have anything about if you maintain property or occupy it for long enough time that it kind of begins to be your property instead? Because I live
Adverse
I live
possession?
in a state where even if you mowed your neighbor's yard long enough, it was yours.
Well, we do have adverse possession, but you can't use it against cities or government entities, so. Good point.
Any other questions for Mr. Hayes? Public speaker is George Baruti.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Baruti?
George Brody, 1616 Glen Road. If you could put up the first slide again, please, that would help. Because, I'm sorry, not that one, the one of the map. Yeah, that one. So this isn't what I was going to talk about, but when I looked at Kirkad and they're notorious for being wrong, they've got B listed as a 0, which normally means city or street, and they've got A listed as the one that's owned by the city. So you might want to clarify it. The deed seems to describe Section A as well, so I'm just saying. But the main reason I'm up here is for the same reason I normally come up here when we do this outside what is the law. So 272, it gets referenced in this ordinance or resolution or whatever we're calling this, that you don't have to go through notification or bidding process. That's correct. The city owns this fee simple though. And there is no exceptions for finding the fair market value. You don't just get to make it up. There's 2 ways to do it, and they're stipulated to. The fair market value is determined by an appraisal obtained by the city that owns the land, or by an auction. We're not auctioning, so we're going to convey it. That leaves you one option, the appraisal. I didn't see that in the packet. I assume you didn't do it. The value that's being quoted, the $32,000 or $3,200 or whatever it is just the taxable value that Kirkad is given, which is not an appraisal. And as far as whether it's got value in it, the issue that you guys are taking on is you are the stewards of our resources, the public's resource. The value in that land is irrelevant to what it means to us. It's to that person that owns that bank. And you can't tell me they discovered this because they're selling their property. Their property, their land value of their property is going at $239,000 an acre. So their land value is being assessed at $165,000. This is 1/3 of that. So the true value to them is at least $45,000. So to sell it for $3,000 is ludicrous, and it's also not with an appraisal. So we're missing a step in the process. You can go forward this way because we have in the past. We've been doing this a long time, as he said before, and he'll tell you he's comfortable with it because nobody has ever sued us over it. But for crying out loud, one time, just put the citizens, put your fiduciary responsibility in the forefront and get the true fair market value for this land and find out what that is before you do it. Don't take my word for it. Just do a little research yourself and get an appraisal. And you don't have to pay for the appraisal. Somebody will say, well, that would reduce our amount. They need this piece of land. We own this piece of land. I'm not saying gouge them, I'm saying get fair market value. We shouldn't have to pay for the appraisal, but we have to get one. And we should charge them what the appraisal says it's supposed to be. I don't see whether that's a problem. So it's small. What are they gonna sell it for, $1.2 million, something? I mean, whatever it is, it's a lot more than this little piece of land. So, thank you.
I'm really always, I shouldn't be shocked when the speaker comes up here and suggests that we're violating the law. He's misreading the law again, and let me clarify some things. Getting an appraisal is not required. We have to get fair market value, which is why we did look at KCAT's value. We own this, remember back before 2004 as a right-of-way, as a street. And when we vacated it and abandoned it at the time, I believe we got value for it. And that's when we conveyed A and B to the different property owners. I'm comfortable with the value that staff has assessed for this parcel B. We can absolutely go get an appraisal. We can actually go back to the bank and say, we're gonna want more money. It's up to you. I know when Mr. Hornets and I talked about getting an appraisal, that's gonna be $5,000. Yeah, we can ask the bank to pay that. But I just don't think I don't think the value of the property to us is certainly to the number that the speaker just cited. And we can debate what gouging is. I happen to think 3240 is a pretty fair number because we're also reserving a utility easement through the entire piece of property. But that all being said, I'm happy to take under advisement whatever council wants to do and move forward with that.
Any questions for Mr. Hayes on this proposed transaction?
So we also need an appraisal on the value of the easement. The easement has some value.
Well, we're reserving the easement for us.
Yeah, so if you looked at it from that perspective, you could get an appraisal on the value of the land, go back to that, and then we basically would reduce the cost of what it would take for an easement to pay for that easement, on that land.
But this was, we got some compensation for it in the first place when we got it. And then we needed away only part of it.
Right, well, we needed,
They needed it back to us.
Right,
First.
and I don't think we got any value for that.
They didn't want.
They probably didn't want to pay the taxes on it and realized that they couldn't even really use it.
So this will put it back on the tax rate.
It will.
Any other comments or questions? If there's not, I certainly would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the city manager's execution of a deed without warrant for a strip of land located behind the property addressed as 1015 Sidney Baker South.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, so vote. And it passes unanimously. Our next item is 7A, appointment of a mayor pro tem. Per long tradition on the city council, the city council person who has served the longest traditionally serves as mayor pro tem. And it's a thankless job, as I understand it. But I would certainly entertain a motion to appoint a mayor pro tem, or we can go into executive session and discuss it.
Don't think we need to. I'll make the motion to appoint our current mayor pro tem, Brenda Hughes, mayor pro tem, for council year 25 through 26, to her final term.
Is there a second? The motion's been made and seconded, I think, by
Well, I don't know. Yeah, okay.
Shelley will know. Shelley will know. It was made, it was seconded by Delaney.
Okay.
Motion's been made and seconded. You would accept this,
I'd be honored.
motion been made and seconded. All in favor, so vote. And thank you for doing that. We do have one executive session item, 8B. So we will need a motion to go into executive session. I have inquired, there is a room available for us to do that session. Is a motion then to go into executive session, please?
I make a motion to go into executive session under section 551071 and 072.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, so vote. And we will go into executive session and come back and adjourn out. And someone will have to show us where that room is. Okay. we ready?
We are ready.
We are back from executive session, and we do have an action to take from executive session.
Yes, I would like to make a motion, 1, to ratify conditional mediation settlement agreement, and 2, to authorize the mayor and city manager to take all action to finalize settlement between parties.
Yes.
Dark skies.
Yeah. Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, so vote. And it's unanimous. All right. Items for future agendas. I actually have 2 items for future agendas. The first item for a future agenda I would like to propose is to discuss council representation on various boards. After the reconstruction or reconstitution of the council, several members would like to change their current assignments, and I would just like to put it on a future agenda, and that's the EIC. That's probably Playhouse 2000, probably the airport board, maybe any of the items that we need to discuss as a group for the council representation or council liaison on those boards. That'd be okay to have it on a future agenda? We good? The second one's a little bit more arcane. I think on a future agenda, we need to talk about the Tybee Mountain Cemetery. That's different from where Captain Tybee is buried. Captain Tybee is buried at the very top of the hill, but at the intersection of the Loop and Cypress Creek Road is a cemetery called Tybee Mountain Cemetery, which is not on Tybee Mountain, but it appears that the city owns that property. The reason I would like to put it on a future agenda is I would like to propose at a future agenda that we appoint a committee to determine the future upkeep and care of that cemetery, to honor those who are buried there, but also to have a plan for its maintenance and care. And I would probably recommend that we have on that committee descendants of those who are buried there. So I would like to ask that we add Tybee Mountain Cemetery to a future agenda.
We can also find out if there's any veterans buried there, because there's a veterans group here that was trying to work at the Guadalupe Cemetery, and that all fell apart. So they didn't get to go in and do what they were.
Well, this is owned by the city, so, and I can find out, I have a list of people buried there. Anyway, I would like to add that to a future agenda item, if that's okay. All right? It's more complicated than it first appears. All right, any other items for future agendas? Hearing none, seeing none, this meeting is now adjourned. 8:20 p.m.